Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball HTB fam. Hope you guys are well. And again, your home of pure rugby league. Hope you guys are well. Thank you again for tuning in. Before I start as well, questions, Q&As, feel free to join. Again, it's another episode. It's episode 3 of our Locked On Warriors, which is primarily focused on Warriors. But again, I've got someone very special to me, a special guest who's been on here before. But this is our first time again here for this year anyway. Brad, please over to yourself. Explain who you are, what you're doing, what you've been up to, man. Thank you again for joining.
Yeah, cheers for having me on again. So it's Brad from Ingers League Wrap Up. Also co-host The Standoff on New Zealand Sport Radio. We just had our 100th episode last week and right back into the league season. So really looking forward to it. And just a pleasure to be on with you again.
No, appreciate your time. And again, guys, as you can see the screen below you there, it's saying follow and subscribe to Brad Ingers League Wrap Up. So again, Brad, can you please explain to those there who are watching, where can we find you?
Yeah, so it's Ingers League Wrap Up on Facebook, and then on Instagram and Twitter, it's Brad Inger 3. And I try to post everything on all those platforms. And besides doing my show every week, I also do writing. Haven't started yet. I'm a bit behind, but I usually will write match reviews, my thoughts on games. I'm probably going to start doing match previews as well now, just to try to do a little bit more. But yeah, if you're interested in a little bit of read about footy, go have a look.
Awesome, as and guys, you heard it there, straight from Brad. Please go and subscribe and follow what he's doing. Again, a huge, massive Warriors fan. So again, guys, I've decided to sort of change things up a bit. Before we start, we're going to go for a bit of a random match. Here's a random Warriors match for you guys. So in 1996, the 1st of April, the NZ Warriors hosted an Ericsson Stadium, now known as Mount Smart Stadium. They hosted the North Sydney Bears round 4, winning 12 points to 8. Stacey Jones was the only try scorer. I believe Gavin Hill, Greg Alexander, as well as Mark Ellis were also the goal kickers too, who got the ball here in the conversion as well. So anyway, straight into it. So things have happened last week. Obviously, there's a mix of trials, but obviously the Warriors as well are still trying to find, that 30-man squad, so to speak. They recently signed Dimitri Sifakula. Brad, what are your thoughts on the signing here for the Warriors?
I think it's a great signing. I got to go to the first trial where he had a bit of a field day out there against the Tigers, and I can't believe the kid's only 18. He doesn't look it, but it's great to see some of these young potentials staying in the fold. As Warriors fans know, we always have the talk about all these players that they let go. So this is a kid that if he's good enough to make the top 30 at 18 years old, if the Warriors didn't do it, you'd probably see him go over to Oz. Yeah. And it would be another one of those situations. So it's great to get him in there. I don't know how much game time we'll realistically see from him in first grade this year. I expect he'll have a heavy New South Wales Cup schedule, which is going to be great. It will get that experience against grown-ups instead of playing all these SG boy kids. But yeah, I think it's fantastic that they're signing from within, and they're not just grabbing anyone. It looks like they're actually picking out players. And there's a few, I know we're going to talk about SG Ball, but there's a few other kids playing in there that I think are going to be big names eventually. So hopefully the Warriors keep a hold of them too.
Awesome, yeah, and that's right. And I think the general theme for this one here in particular is homegrown talent, which is another big bonus. As you said, we're not signing offshore, we're signing at home, and it's a good pickup there. Dimitri Sipkula, who's only, I think you said, 18 years old. So again, a lot of years, I'm sure, at the Warriors. You mentioned SG Ball, and look, unfortunately, I don't think this game here was actually televised. However, as it stands, the Melbourne Storm had 18 points, and the New Zealand Warriors had 56 points there. Again, I know we both didn't watch the game, but that's a pretty big scoreline. Give me your thoughts on that scoreline, and anything else you want to sort of say regarding the SG Ball with the Warriors and how it's not televised.
Yeah, great score. I saw that the Storm had a hiding the week before as well, and they're currently sitting at the bottom of the table, so it's not great for the Storm there, but it's good to see the Warriors. The second game got cancelled due to the cyclone, but the two performances we've had, I've been very impressed. Got to watch the first one. because it was televised on YouTube. We talked before we went on air here that for some reason it's not playing in New Zealand, which I think is a big mistake. I know there's probably costs involved with trying to get cameras there, but if you go on the NRL websites, you can see highlight packages. So there are cameras there. But I think it's something they really need to do. And just mainly for being a biased New Zealand-based fan, to show these young kids and show the future the Warriors actually have.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Sorry there, Brad. I've got Bloke in the Bar. I'm not sure if this is real or not. I'm just going to assume it's just a troll account. I don't think Bloke in the Bar is watching this. He's too busy. Hello, g'day, and yeah, hello. Hope everyone is well. So yes, now we all know what happened on the weekend. There was a lot of hype and I suppose a lot of eagerness looking forward to this game against the Storm. Some may even say they were looking at this as probably a win in some cases. However, it was not to be. Warriors losing 6 points to 24. Brad, can you please give me your thoughts, summation on the game, and then we'll go to our player ratings.
Yeah, I am disappointed in the result, but I think the first hour, I thought I could take a lot of positives out. There was still a sprinkling of negatives as well. But yeah, the back ends when a lot of the big names for both sides went off, that's kind of when it went over to the Storm side. But I think both teams will probably be unhappy with how they played. There was a lot of errors on both sides of the ball. The grounds, I don't know if it was the grounds or the sprigs, but both sides were slipping and sliding all over the place. It looked very clunky, which I kind of expected a little bit with a lot of those big names for the Warriors just having their first game back. Yeah, but when you have a disappointing result like this, with how I've heard Andrew Webster in interviews, I think that's more of a learning opportunity for the team. So I suppose in Wellington against the Knights, if we see improvement from what we saw here, they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, look, I agree. I will say, though, again, granted it's preseason, I personally felt a little bit deflated by the score, particularly, as you said, Andrew Webster, I suppose the main focal point for him being coach and what we've been seeing is a lot of defense. And obviously, again, it's just preseason, but still, when I saw the score like that, particularly in the second half, I was disappointed. It was very, almost no effort, no care. I'm not saying the players didn't, but a lot of those tackles that were broken, defense comes down to attitude, comes down to effort, or your willingness to. And I think in some cases just wasn't good enough, in my own opinion. Now, granted, like you said, both sides, absolutely. A lot of hold the ball there probably could have been practiced, to be fair with you, particularly the Warriors. But in saying that, albeit it's preseason, that's what the Cobblers are for, right, to try and get them out, and then you sort of go from there. Now, what we're going to be doing, guys, is player ratings. It's out of 10, out of 5, whatever it is you want it to be. But it's a general discussion. Again, Q&As, all that stuff there. Brad, we had our first, good to see Cenac come back and play for us. What are your thoughts on him against the Storm?
I actually liked what I saw from him in this game. He's not a flashy fullback, but he's safe under the high ball for the majority of the time he was out there. I think you put on there he only had two errors in his game. He's just very safe out the back. And I never wanted to see him go, but I understood the reasons why he left originally. But yeah, I think Jacko's put in there that he's given me, I'd say like a 7 or 8 for me. There's still some work to be done, but I feel a lot more confident with him out the back than some other players that have been there in the previous seasons.
Yeah, I agree with you. Particularly the defensive work as well. I thought wasn't too bad. Look, for me, I'll probably give him a 7.5 out of 10 personally. Dylan Watson-Essley, isn't it? The only sole try scorer in this game. Give me your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I thought he had the typical Dylan game, I think, where he runs hard. I did like his try. It wasn't a traditional Dylan try on the wing. It was a scrum play, which we haven't seen the Warriors do a lot of. So, I was happy with him. He made a few errors as well, which you come to expect from Dylan. but yeah, he's definitely one of the first names you write on the game day 17. So I wasn't surprised, but I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought from like you said, it's a typical game. It is sort of like the game he generally does have. Not too much probably to summarize, apart from the good try there. Look, for me, I think I'll probably give him a personal, 7 or 6.5 out of 10. Braden William, a bit of a contrast to the game he had last week, I think. Brad, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, this was a big game for Braden in my eyes because for my season preview, I pick a 17 and there's one spot that's blank in my team and it was the center spot because I don't know who I was going to put. And I was like, I want to see what he does in this game to either give him a shot or not. See him. Am I back? I still don't see him there personally. I'm probably going to put him there just due to the situation that the coach has said where he's going to put particular players. But a bit disappointed that he missed a few tackles because that's really not what we want to see from him. But yeah, I'm sure he's going to get a chance to prove himself again.
Yeah, I agree. I was definitely coming to this game here thinking he like you said, it was a big game for him, and unfortunately, I don't think he met the challenge. Unfortunately, there four missed tackles, some of them were quite crucial. 2 errors as well. Again, not a huge running game, and I suppose that was probably the summation, the general theme there for most of the players there. I'll probably give him a rating, honestly, of a 5 out of 10 personally.
Yeah.
Viliami Vailea, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, a bit quieter than he was the week before, but I still think he shows promise. He still has, due to his age, he still has the odd error in him, which we saw, and he's going to learn. I'd probably give him a 5 or a 6. Wasn't his best showing, but I'm expecting big things out of him in the future, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how he was on the day. So, 5 or 6 for me.
Yeah, look, there's not too much there to say for myself personally. 11 tackles, 3 missed tackles. Again, definitely a bit of work there in the defensive, sort of things there for his game. But probably a 4.5, 5 out of 10 for me. Marcelo Montoya, Chile Montoya. What were your thoughts on him?
It's almost rinse to repeat what I said about Dallin. Very usual game for Marcelo. A few errors, a few missed tackles. Runs like a bat out of hell. Just runs as hard as he can into a brick wall every time he gets the ball. Disappointing you didn't get to see a bit more of him in open space. But maybe a 6 or 7. Didn't do too much wrong, but didn't blow the game apart.
Yeah, probably a 5 for me personally. This guy here has, on a continual basis, been a bit of a controversial figure. Now we all know his, last year it was very unfortunate because there was a big downfall, and then he obviously in the latter end of the season he rose to the occasion. It hasn't been too convincing in my opinion, particularly just preseason, but it hasn't been convincing enough. Give me your thoughts on Edward Kossi.
Yeah, he really won me over at the back end of last year, and I was hoping to see him, build on it. But the 2 trials, he hasn't really done too much exciting. I think he's going to spend a lot of time learning in New South Wales Cup, which I think is going to be good for him. He's one of these other kids that just got thrown straight into the deep end in first grade, which, it's very sink or swim first grade. So giving him some time in New South Wales Cup, I think is going to develop him to where he needs to be. But you've got Dallin and Marcelo who have locked in those wing spots regardless. So he might get some games, but I'll give him a 4. I don't think it was a great showing.
Yeah. No, agreed. I'll probably give him a 4, 3.5 out of 10. Ronald Volkman, probably another player too that a lot of Warriors fans are very excited about, particularly when you look into the future context of things. However, like you said before, not the case, not about the futures, but what happened right now. Give me your thoughts on Ronald Volkman, against the Storm.
Yeah, he was really quiet. I didn't really notice he was out there a lot, to be honest. And yeah, 3 missed tackles you've got there. Not a lot of kicking meters either. Yeah, it wasn't a great showing for him. He's, again, like, I expect him to be New South Wales Cup and actually learning his trade. And he'll get a chance or two this year, I'm sure. But he is a future player. He's going to be a future half for this club. But yeah, right now, I'll give him a 5. I'll give him an average, just because I didn't really notice him. That should probably be a lower grade, but I'm going to be nice.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. We'll get to the next player as well, obviously the other half as well. But it just feels like, to me, he was probably in the back seat for this one here. Probably couldn't do as much as he would like to. But again, what do you sort of do? I agree with you, a 5 there. Shaun Johnson, this man, he needs no introduction. Brad, over to you. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, it wasn't his greatest day, let's be sure. Very rusty. You could see the ring rust on him. Silly mistakes, not kicking out on the full-on penalties, things like that. Yeah, I'd probably say a 3 or a 4 in this. I expect him to get better. I think when you've got him and TMM together in the halves, I think we're going to actually see a better Shaun. Luke Metcalf getting injured is probably giving him a bit more of a life jacket for the first couple of weeks, because I think Andrew Webster is the type of guy that if he doesn't think it's working, he will make changes. But I think that could also bring the best out in Shaun, being a typical Warriors fan trying to be optimistic. The pressure of actually being able to lose your spot, I think, will either let him go really well or prove that he's too long in the tooth. I don't know. And yeah, that comment, Shaun is playing the line better, which is something we've been asking him to do. So.
Yeah, 48 run meters. He's attacking the line, sure, but 48 run meters. Again, that's what I'm sort of looking at. Overall, I like Shaun Johnson, and he's a very popular player, obviously. But I just feel for mine. I know it's only preseason, and I'm not trying to speak any negativity here, but I feel like you said, Metcalf, the fact that he's injured, it definitely saves Shaun Johnson a bit of time. But in my opinion, how long do you sort of put up with this? Like you said, he will get better, sure. But the other question is, what happens if he doesn't? I don't like asking that, but that's the other reality that we've got to look at, because last season, whether you like it or not, I don't think he met expectations, to be fair. And he even said so himself. So again, I'll probably 4.5 for me. Eden Fonua Blake, give me your thoughts.
Oh, I love Eden. I was hoping to see more running meters out of him, but he's still, what you get with him, he's going to be like the linchpin in the front row. And, a couple of missed tackles. He had some big boys to try to stop. But, I liked what I saw. He was showing a bit more trying to do the offload. He only got 1 in the game, but there was a few times where he almost got another. So with some of those youngsters in the forward pack around, he could, if he can just pop one off every now and then, I think it's going to help the Warriors in second phase. Only 1 missed tackle, so not too bad. For my front rowers though, I like to see them hit the triple digits. He was close, but I think triple digits is a pass mark for a front rower for me. I'd give him 7. I'm biased as a former front rower, so they always get a couple more points from me.
Look, I think you've said it well. In all honesty, I think I'll give him a 7. I appreciate it, but I didn't at the same time, because I was also worried, because he was definitely getting a lot of grunts in his running, and I was thinking, what if the other boys don't? Are we going to see the same thing as we did last year, where you had almost virtually Eden Fonua Blake on his own, trying to literally carry the boys forward, and that made me worried. And like you said, it wasn't quite a pass mark in terms of running meters, But then if he's not running well, it sort of reflects on the other forwards as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But a 7 or 6.5. Wade Egan. Give me your thoughts on our Wade Egan.
He's really won me over. I like him. He's solid. It wasn't anything fantastic. I'd give him 7.5 maybe, but he just does what you need him to do. He's still got a few shaky passes out of dummy half, which look forward, which he's still got to work. But he just knows what he needs to do, and he's a hard worker out in the middle, which you need.
Yeah. I agree. As we know of Egan, there's definitely no question about his defensive game. Always offers a lot of defense there. I suppose the other side is we want a bit more in his offensive game, but I think it's actually improving and he's actually getting there. And like you said, he's won you over. And to be fair with you, I was very iffy about him earlier on last year, but I've actually grown to be very fond of his game and what he brings for us, in all honesty. And I think for mine, I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Mitchell Barnett. Now, granted, he was actually playing out of position in this game. So he was sort of thrown, as you've quoted before, in the deep end against the Storm, playing a position he doesn't really play. Give me your thoughts on Mitch Barnett.
I was actually really impressed with him. He missed quite a few tackles, but as you said, he was out of position, and a lot of those tackles were against Big Nelson, which isn't an easy day in the office. But
no.
He's fast. When he was out there, it looked like the defensive line was actually coming up with him, and he was always coming up quick, which is something I've always criticized the Warriors for. It always seems like they're the only team in the whole NRL that doesn't come up in a defensive line. They just wait. Yeah. So things like that. It's either him or Tohu I'd put in the front row right now due to the lack of experience props they have. And the amount of second rowers they have. So I'm probably more sold on Tohu there at the moment, just because I feel like Tohu delivers more in the front row capacity than Barnett showed, but it's one game. So we might see him against the Knights in that position too. So a very good first outing, work on those missed tackles, but I was happy with what I saw. 7.
Yeah, I agree. About a 7 for me. I really appreciate the effort he was putting in, particularly, as you mentioned, the defensive work as well. Granted, 6 missed tackles, but, it's not like he was half-hearted in any of them, even the ones he missed. So it's really good to see. But we'll get into the round 1 team predictions as well later on. But I agree with you. I think I'll probably swap him regardless. But a good showing nonetheless. Jackson Ford. Now, I just want to quickly say something here. Jackson Ford was one of the players that I was actually a big fan of when we signed up initially. I didn't know much about him, but I just thought, you know what? Here's a guy here who's hungry. I'm sure he's going to make the most of his opportunity. Now, I get it. Some people weren't a big fan of him. It is what it is, especially if he's virtually unknown. Give your thoughts on this game. And is he someone that you're warming up to, or is someone you've already warmed up to?
So if anyone watches my show, I don't like the Dragons. So when we signed him, I rubbished him straight away and said New South Wales Cup, we signed him to be there. But in the 2 games that I've got to watch for him, he's impressed me a lot. He's like a Jack Murchie, those kind of second rowers you get, which aren't your game breakers, but they're going to go in there and do a decent job. And that's what he did here. He was running hard, tackling hard, only 1 error. But I'd give him an 8. I thought I was really impressed with him. And I haven't got him in my team, but I think he's going to be playing first grade a lot more than he isn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well said. What I really appreciate from him, like you said, is he just does the job well. He does it well. An 8 for me. I'll say Percy is probably one of the more stand-up performers in that list there. Marata Nukore. Give me your thoughts on him and his quote-unquote debut for the Warriors.
Loved him out there. It was great to see he was out there doing big hits. Still had a few misreads. Didn't run as hard or didn't get as many meters as I was hoping. But it was more his defensive presence, which I think is going to help the Warriors, especially when he's going to be on an edge, because the Warriors' edge is a Swiss cheese with so many holes. So, it's going to be, I think they're going to be better for it defensively. And that other stuff, so once he clicks in and gets used to the players around him, I think we'll see the attack start to develop. As we've seen him at Parramatta, and even with the Kiwis, he's very good on attack as well. So, I'd give him a 7 in this one. I thought he was solid enough.
Yeah, I agree. It's really funny because Marata Nikore, for me personally, I have this sort of view of him as being like this tough ball carrier, and I'm not saying he's not, but yeah, like you said, he probably could have done just a little bit more, in my opinion. Now, granted, there was that moment when Aaron Bennett ran up at him and he just absolutely smashed him and forced the ball out, which was good to see. So there is a bit of aggression. Again, I'm sure he's warming up, before we spoke as well. I think you're mentioning, some of these players, World Cup and all that stuff. So they're still warming up, they're still getting to the ground of things as well. So in saying that, I'll give him I think I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Wasn't too bad. The captain, Toy Harris, what are your thoughts on him?
I'll give him a 9. I feel like there's not much he does wrong. You know what he's going to do out there. You got it there, 100 meters. He did miss 4 tackles, got 2 successful captain challenges against probably the worst refereeing display I've seen in some time. But yeah, he's just always going to give you 100% there, and he's always going to try wherever you put him on the field. He's going to give it his all. So I'm going to do a 9. It's probably a bit too high, but I was just happy to see him out there.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Toy Harris fan. I'm actually not. For many of you guys who don't know, I'm not. Even him being the captain, I'm still not a big fan of that. We might even discuss this on another episode. But look, in saying that though, you're right. When he plays, he always gives us all. He usually is the best forward, most times for the Warriors. 100 meters, and I think he was the only forward who reached 100 meters too, by the way. So,
I think so, yeah.
Again, playing at lock 2 wasn't too bad. So I think for mine, I'll give him a good 8 out of 10, being generous. All right, so Dylan Walker. Give me your thoughts on Dylan Walker.
Yeah, I thought he was very busy out there when he came on. It's still going to be interesting to see what happens when it comes to the regular season and how they use him. But I thought the attack started to look a bit more exciting when he was out there. You kind of had Sean and Ronald weren't really piecing things together, but then you had Dylan come on and be like the second receiver and kind of created some opportunities. The Warriors didn't capitalize on it, but I was happy with it. I'd give him a 7. It's just more what they're going to do with him. I'm sure he's going to be great wherever they put him, but I'm just not sure what they're going to do with him yet. So it's going to be interesting. But I liked what I saw for his first hit out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I probably won't add too much. I will say though, don't be surprised if he ends up being at center. I don't know. I just have this feeling that that's where he'll be. Now, granted, I know Webster's talked about him being a utility, obviously being at 14, but when things are getting tough, I almost feel like he'll probably be slotted there, in my own opinion. I give him a 7 out of 10. And just before we also go as well, some of these players too didn't really play many minutes, so some of them may be not in depth as some of the other players, just purely for that reason. So again, it is what it is. But Bunty R4, Bunty from the back fence R4. Give me your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't as big as the last game, but the last game was a lot easier. But he still does his barnstorming big hit ups that we expect from him, and he's showing a lot more maturity, I think, which just comes with his age. I thought it was a solid hit out for him. No missed tackles. I think someone put in there a typical Bunty performance. It's just what you expect from him, to be just shy of the 100 meters, doing the tackles, getting an offload or 2 in. It's kind of what he does. So I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even last game he actually had no missed tackles. So there's one thing about Bunty Alfor is that he's very, very good at tackling. He's a good defender. And if things sort of fall away, at least you know Bunty, he's going to give you us all defensively. And I think it was one of those games too. So yeah, Josh King Curran. Give me your thoughts on Josh Curran's performance. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a quieter game for him, but first game back in a long time, probably got some, maybe his mind's not 100% on the footy at the moment with off-field stuff, but I think it was a good first hit out for him coming off the bench. I thought it was good, a good quiet hit out for him. Fully expect him to be in the 17. There was nothing that I saw that took that away. So I'd give him a 6. But yeah, he didn't play as many minutes as he normally would. So I think a few more minutes, he probably would have upped his rating with me.
Yeah, look, yeah, I agree. Huge Josh Curran fan, but yeah, I think I'll give him a 6, 6.5 thereabouts. I will say though, I prefer him as a lock. And I know we'll get to that, but I just want to sort of throw that out there. I prefer him as a lock personally. Tom Ale, probably, again, much like Braden Villami, that is a bit of a contrast to his last game. Give me your thoughts on him.
Yeah, he didn't get as many minutes. He had a lot of minutes in that first game, which I think helped, but he's still dangerous. He's like a little shotgun. He'll give you some big impact, which I think is how they're going to use him come round 1 and for the NRL season. He's going to be that impact prop that they bring in to do some damage in the middle when everyone's tiring. Only 1 missed tackle. He's still learning. He's still young. I'll give him a 6, but he just didn't get enough minutes to get a good read on him. But he's a hell of a talent. He's showing that he's got what it takes in first grade. So I think it'll be a big year for him.
Yeah, I agree. I imagine if he slotted into the 17, I don't think he'll be playing small minutes as well, coming off the bench as well. I definitely see him as a very good, big impact player. Like you said, a shotgun player. I like that as a good description. But yeah, not enough minutes. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Ali Leatawa. I suppose he probably falls into that Tom Ale bracket as well. Not enough minutes, but give me your general thoughts on him.
Yeah, another youngster that's got all the talent. It's just another hit out. We'll spend a lot of time in New South Wales Cup, and I don't even he isn't in the top 30 or anything yet. He's one of those ones that may get the call up sooner rather than later, but still impressive to see these young guys. Hard to rate him though. I'll probably do like Ali, do like a 5 or 6.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, guys, the comments are coming in a bit fast there, so I'll get to them as I can when I can. Also, apologies. Ben Farr, look, I will say this. He's someone that definitely interests me. I did a bit of background, checking this dude's background. I believe he's from Queensland. He's played in their Queensland Cup as well. He's interesting because he hasn't really played much at all, as you can see. There's 7 run meters, 1 error, 7 tackles, 2 missed tackles. Again, not too much there to gauge, but I like him in the sense that I want to see more of him. I'm going to have to give him a 4 out of 10, purely because he barely didn't really play. What are your thoughts on Ben Farr?
Yeah, probably around the same. Didn't get a lot of time. I think when I saw him before the game at the Tigers trial, I thought it was Freddie Lussick at first. But interesting. He's another reserve grade that's going to learn, and I'm sure. I'm not sure if he's going to have a future with the Warriors or if he'll end up elsewhere. But it's great. Hopefully, he takes this opportunity. But yeah, not a lot of time to be able to really get to see him, and I don't even know what position he really specializes either.
I believe he's a standoff for 5'8". I believe he's a 5'8".
Yeah,
I believe he is, but then you wouldn't know because he's been literally scattered all over the field. So
yeah,
not too. Freddie Lussick. Give me your thoughts on Freddie Lussick.
I like Freddie. It was a quiet game for him as well. Not a lot of time. He because of Dylan Walker, he will be reserve grade, I think, all year. I don't see them having Lussick on the bench.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great talent, and I think the Warriors will keep hold of him, and he will eventually become their hooker when Wade's either let go or retired, depending on how long he stays around. He's got a lot of potential, but not a lot to see in this game. So another 4.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, 4 for me as well. Team 12 picky. He played a little bit of fullback there when Chance was on the bench there. It was okay. Give me your thoughts on him.
Yeah, it wasn't the amazing game like the week before, but he shows the glimpses. We all know he's very young. He's going to get chances this year. I believe there's going to be injuries that happen where he'll get a shot. But he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he did enough out there to show that he can play first grade. I just want to see some more seasoning in reserve grade for him before they just throw him out to the Lions. He's a little guy, but he's got a lot of heart.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can definitely see it, like you said, these glimpses there, particularly when he has the ball in hand. You can just see his brain at work there. He definitely knows how to spot the gap well. Where he runs, I was just sort of watching him play there, and he knows where to put himself properly as a running fullback. So it is good to see. Bailey, Siren, and Suro, what were your thoughts in this game?
I didn't notice him out there, but that is a trend with me and Bailey. I never seem to notice him out there. He's Mr. Invisible for me. He did what he needed to do. He's usually more defensive heavy than anything else. He's okay. He's another guy that I don't see cracking the team with the other second rows that are around. But he's dependable when you need him to be defensively. If you want him to do something with the ball, you've got no hope.
Yeah. No, that's facts. He's a very one-sided player, and it just leans towards defense. I think I'll give him a rating of 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't give a rating, but 4. Boom.
Yeah. Paul Roach, and again, I think he played very, very minimal game time. Paul Roach, I think I'll give him a 5 or 4 out of 10, but 11 tackles, no misses. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Same. I'd say a 4 or 5. Limited time. Didn't really put a foot wrong when he was out there though. Hopefully, he's not as injury prone as his brother. For him, but I think he's another good talent for the future.
Yeah, agreed. And last but not least, ironically, the man of the hour, Dimitri Sifakula. And again, compared to last week, he barely even got around the ball, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on this game?
Here's another one. Yeah, I don't know exactly how many minutes he got, but he felt like he only had 4 or 5 minutes. It was probably longer, but barely any time to have any impact. But he didn't embarrass himself out there either. So, the fact that he's an 18-year-old playing with the first graders, it's a big step up. He's going to grow. He's going to learn a lot. But I'd say 4 or 5. I'm sure he would have got a better rating if he got more minutes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There was once, and he had 9 run meters, and I think it was when he was darting to the try line, just stopped just short of the try line there. So a fair effort for Dimitri there, future of the Warriors there. Now we've got another segment, hard-hitting questions, or perhaps hard-hitting questions, things to think about, things to sort of reflect on. We're going to go straight into it, Brad. Unfortunately, you're on the hot chair here, so you're going to be answering them. But look, I'll have a crack at it as well. Our halves are a worry. Yes or no, and why, please?
I think it's going to be fine. I'm optimistic. I feel like Tamari Martin is I'm putting all my money on him. I feel like he's either going to allow a Luke Metcalf to do what they do, or he's going to help Sean bring the best out in Sean. I think they'll be fine. If Tamari Martin goes down with an injury, then it's a worry. I'm kind of putting it all on him.
Okay.
But it's a sit on the fence kind of kind of answer for you. But yeah,
Okay.
I think as long as Tamara Martin's out there, we're fine.
All right. Okay. So it's definitely for you. It's Te Maire Martin. Full stop.
Yeah.
All right. So what about this? Te Maire Martin and Metcalf as the starting regular halves. Do you like it or you don't like it?
I think Metcalf's still better as a fullback, but if Sean is showing no progress in the first couple of weeks, I would rather have Metcalf in the halves, just to do something. Yeah, as long as Sean's showing that he's not, going to get any better. But yeah, Metcalf he's the hardest player in this team to try to figure out what to do with, because I feel like he needs to be there, but I don't know where you put him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you put him if you slot him at fullback, you've got chance there, right? You slot him the halves. He's obviously Te Maire Martin, there's Sean Johnson. 14, well, I think that's Dylan Walker's, right? So yeah, you're right. Where do you sort of slot him exactly? For me personally, I'm having him next to Te Maire Martin. But I can see what you mean, though, given that fullback is his position, his natural position, and he's actually a very good fullback by all accounts as well. Another question here is a general question that gets asked all the time with different teams, but your thoughts on the spine, and I suppose in particular this game here, and then we'll go into the round one prediction. But in this game here, was the spine, it was the first time seeing Sean Johnson, Te Maire Martin, Charles Nicole Cookstad. Granted, it wasn't Te Maire Martin and Sean Johnson, Volkman. But what are your thoughts on the spine overall?
For this game, I thought 2 out of the 4, Egan and Chance, did what they needed to do, and it was the halves that kind of looked lost. I think watching it at home, I think that was the conversation that was happening in the house. It's like that Sean and Volkman looked like they weren't talking to each other, and it kind of disrupted everything. In terms of going through, it goes back to my Te Maire Martin thing. I think he's there. Things will start to strengthen out. But yeah, Egan and Chance, I think, are going to be fine. Te Maire, I think will be fine. It's just whoever is going to be in that other spot that's going to link it all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one for me, really. I'm always perplexed when it comes to this, particularly because I'm trying not to think about it, but last season's performances were last mine. All those things sort of come into mind here. Yeah. Now, this is just a general question here. You don't have to agree or disagree with this statement here. But sometimes, for my personal opinion, for example, the Storm game, all right, as recent as that, during the hard times, it just feels like there's a lack of leadership. And I'm not trying to point the finger at one player in particular. I just think the Warriors sort of, unfortunately, as we saw, they fold. They fold. What are your thoughts on that? Is that true? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think at the moment it's true. It didn't help that when they started going into the hard times, a lot of the senior players weren't on the field, which takes a hit on that. But even looking back last year, when everyone was out, you kind of felt that you had Adden and Tohu were it, and maybe the players weren't responding to either of them, or they just were over it. I'm not sure. I think guys like Mitch Barnett are going to help. And that Mitch Barnett, I've talked about it before. He reminds me a lot of the Kevin Campion. When Kevin Campion came here, he's a battle-hardened Australian, doesn't take rubbish. And he kind of, Campion, when he got here, he got everybody on board. I'm not saying Barnett's going to be able to have that same type of presence, but that's kind of what I feel like. He's going to come in as a veteran, takes no rubbish, and will demand respect, and players will respond, hopefully. I feel like Adden and Tohu, I feel, are in the Mannering mold where they're leaders, but they're quiet.
Thank you.
Which, I know when I was playing, I was never thought of as a leadership guy, but I was generally quiet. And when I was talking, it wasn't generally something worth listening to. So I would respond to a guy telling me what to do. Like, you respect your captain if he's telling you what to do. But if your captain's there just saying, just follow me, I'm probably not going to respond as well to that. Because I was a front rower. We kind of need to be drawn what we have to do. But yeah, I feel like the quiet leader, they're good, but you need someone that's actually out there being vocal as well, which we kind of saw at the start of last year with Lodge there. You had Adam Tohu, who was injured at the time. Adam was, doing what he does, being very quiet, but Lodge was out there barking and responding. There's a few players in the Warriors past that have been like that. Like when Mannering was around, we had guys like Brent Tate and things like that were vocal. But yeah, I think, a guy like Barnett, I think may help. But yeah, Tohu just needs to talk a bit more.
I just want to say thank you for acknowledging that, because that's one of my big issues. And again, it's not in a disrespectful sense. It's just in the sense that when it comes to dialogue and communication, I just feel like Tohu Harris needs to speak up more. I'm assuming in nature he's probably very quiet, very laid back, very chilled, as you can see, which is cool. I get it. I respect it. But on the field there, you need your Mongols. You need, as you said, your Kevin Campions, your Mitch Barnetts. You need those players to enforce and instill the sense of we need to get the job done, and it's not just about following me. It's no, you shut up, come here, let's do it now. Stand by me, let's do this, let's do that. And I feel like for me, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't a fan of Tohu Harris being appointed as captain, because it just reminded me too much of Mannering. I respect Mannering, in my opinion, the GOAT of the Warriors. But when it came to that leadership thing in terms of communication, it just wasn't good enough. He could definitely show you his actions were great. His actions were wonderful. They were absolutely beautiful to watch. But I just don't think he was getting the message across to the boys, particularly when we needed to hear it the most. Yeah. And I just feel like Tohu Harris fits in that mold, as you said. Mitch Barnett for me. I might even argue and say that you have a Metcalf who might even be in that mold too, who seems like he really talks a lot. We need some of those players. Just my opinion. Forwards, not really bending the line. Now what? Is this going to be a continuation? I mean, this was very worrying. Like you said, 100 meters is a pass mark. There was only one pass mark.
Yeah. It's always a concern. I think Webster, he hasn't really put it out there, but judging from what I saw in the Tigers game, I feel like they're going to be trying a lot of, almost take it to the line, quick pass to the next forward, to those little short passes and stuff to kind of counteract the fact that you're not bending the line. You're trying to like pull a defender out of the way, a gap for another forward, things like that to kind of, I'm not going to say cheat the system, but it's kind of a way around it if you don't have the confidence that you guys can just run over the top. I think that's, I don't know. There's guys like Tom Ali and that will be able to do that once they get the confidence up. But at the moment, you're kind of looking at Tohu and Adam and saying, we need you guys to get 100 meters for us or we're in trouble.
Yeah, and I'm not liking that because it's just it's eerily, and I'll say it's eerily similar to last year. And we all know what happened when that, where that got us results-wise on the ladder and on the field. And I'm worried about it personally. Really am. You get a team like the Storm, a team like the Cowboys, a team like the Raiders, big boppers, big boys. You almost have this sick feeling in your gut knowing that we're not going to be doing much offensive, they won't be bending the line. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like it at all. All right. King Curran, what are your thoughts on this one here? Should he move to lock, stay at second row, or push him to the bench? What are your thoughts? And just before you answer that, sorry, there was a question here for you as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I was hoping we'd avoid it. Highest level rugby league, not very high. I got to just under prems for Manuriel Marlins. I think when I gave up on my NRL dream was when a young guy called Peter Hiku was making fun of me at a training about being slow and not being very fast. And I realized it was a young man's game and I gave it up. I played a lot more union just because union's easier, I got probably not very high. I'm just not very athletic. Sorry, guys. I just had a hell of an offload. That was it. But yeah, Curran, I'd have him at lock. I think he played his best games at lock last year. I feel like everybody else that they've got there can play on the second row. Tohu, he's playing lock now. Put him back at prop. Put Curran at lock, and then have Barnett and Murata on the second rows, and that looks like a pretty good pack. But yeah, I think Curran's better at lock. I think he delivers more, and he sometimes seems a bit more quiet when he's playing on the edge. So yeah. I think he's better at lock.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think another thing as well, granted now that the lock position is very much now it is anyway, very much a ball playing. You could almost argue and say it's almost like a third half, really in that sense. And I think Josh Curran definitely has some good hands on him. He's got very good passing awareness. One thing I've noticed, particularly at lock, and you're right. If you put him at second row, just doesn't quite utilize his strengths. Put him at lock, and I think it's definitely a good thing there. You mentioned it, you touched on it, you touched on a few players moving here and there, which brings us to the segment here. Round one team predictions. Now that everything is all done and dusted, I'm sure Andrew Webster and the boys are definitely looking at the drawing board. A lot of team selections, a lot of headaches. If you were the coach, how would you have your team line up against the Knights of Wellington?
So if I was coach, I'd have my back three would be Chance, Dallin, and Marcelo. I'd have Valia in the centres. I'm putting Braden Willamy in the centres at the moment, just because I want to see how he goes again. And it's a bit biased because I would put Murata there myself, but they've already said Murata is not going to be in the centres, so I'm not going to fantasy book him there. Halves, I've got Tamari and Sean. Sean didn't play great, but you got to give him a chance with the guy they actually envisioned having him in the halves with. I've got Adam, Egan, and Tohu in my front row. Murata and Mitchell in my second row. Curran at lock. And then I've got Walker, Afoa, Ali, and Ford as my interchange as of right now, because obviously guys like Jazz and that are injured.
Yeah, look, my squad I think is somewhat similar to yours. To be fair with you, I think you basically just said it. I mean, I almost feel like that's probably the squad they're going to go with. I'm not sure about Ali though, in all honesty. But besides that, I think that's virtually what they're going to be going with. Now you mentioned Jazz Tafanga. How long is he out for again?
I'm not sure. Some of them, Webster's come out and said that he could be ready for round one. Okay. Or he might be a couple of weeks later. So I'd say worst case scenario around 5 or 6, but I've got no definite proof on that. They just said Webster basically said he could come out round one, but he wants to give him a bit of an individual preseason as well. Okay. We'll see what happens there. It depends, I guess, on how Jazz is going at training.
Okay, so just one more question, just to throw it out there as well with Jazz. If he's well and fit and ready to go, would he slot him in the 17?
I would. Who I replace him? Yeah. I don't know. He's another one of those hard ones, depending on what they're going to do with him. It's a good problem to have, to sit there going, there's so many players that could be in this team, but I can't fit them in. It's better than struggling, but they're kind of talking about him being a middle forward, so he would probably take Ford or Tom's spot on the bench, I would say. I'm not sure. It depends what they're going to do with him. It's really hard.
Okay. And now, guys, we'll come on to the general chat. So again, if you've got any Q&As, please feel free to. And again, I suppose, any last sort of comments? So we've got like another bit of a segment after this one here, but for general chat, any last thoughts about the Storm game? Any last thoughts about the Warriors as they prep to play the Knights here, where points actually do matter? What, if you want to sort of summarize your thoughts there?
It wasn't the greatest outcome against the Storm. There's still some promise in there that I was being positive about. the first, I think there was a comment in there, the first like 10 rounds is brutal for the Warriors. I think I did a season preview show with Ruin Hammer last year, and I said realistically in the first 10 or 11 rounds, I have put 2 wins down for the Warriors just based on who they're playing. And those 2 were against the Knights. So if they go out and they lose to the Knights in the first round, it could be really bad. But we just don't know how these other teams are going to be. I'm just basing them on last year. I think going into last year, I had the easy wins against the Cowboys, and we saw what happened with the Cowboys. So I'm not overly optimistic for them making a run for the 8 or anything of that nature. I just want to see the improvements that Webster can put in place to build. Obviously they make the 8, I'd be bloody wrapped. But I'm trying to be a bit more tempered with my expectations, because I went in with high hopes last year and it nearly broke me doing the show every week. So try to temper it a bit. But yeah, really looking forward to that first game in Wellington though.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I had high hopes for the lads, and obviously it came crashing down defensively as well. Our worst ever season in the history of our club, right? You mentioned the Knights and how pivotal it is to win that game. It's very pivotal. If we lose, now, again, hypotheticals, and again, no disrespect to Knights fans, it's not a game we're supposed to be losing, okay? I'm sorry, but it isn't. And if we do lose to them, I think, do you press the panic button in round 1? Or do you reckon, nah, it's all right? Because for me, I'm leaning towards that panic button, in all honesty. I am. I don't know. It's one game out of 27 rounds, but...
I guess it would all depend on how they lose, if they lost, if I would use a panic button. If it was... a tight fought, a bit like last year when they lost to the Knights and it was real narrow and neither team looked good out of it. If it was a smashing in Wellington, panic button would probably be pushed.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. And I hope it's not the case. All right, guys, we've got the last segment here before we sort of wrap this up, right? Using the pun there, Brad. All right, so this one here is for Brad. And again, those of you in the comments there, no cheating. All right, but it's an interactive, fun little thing. Who am I? Born on the 7th of the 3rd, 1984, from Richmond, Queensland. I played 108 games for the Warriors between 2009 2017. I was a prop, second row. Afterwards, I went over to the Knights and played 15 games in 2018. Who am I?
Oh, shit. That's not fair. I'm trying to think. I thought of Jacob Lillyman at first, but it's not because he went to. Oh, was it? Is it Jacob Lillyman? Yeah, sweet. Yeah, got it. I couldn't remember if it was the Knights or if he went back to the Cowboys. I couldn't remember, but I was like, no, he did go to Newcastle.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome, man. In all honesty, I think deep down I thought, he's going to get this surely because, I just had to be feeling he would. Look, and say that, awesome work. Thank you again, guys, for joining it. Hope you guys had fun. Brad, again, before you sort of go, any last words you want to say? Where to follow you? What do? Anything like that?
Yeah, well, cheers for having me on again. And we've got our second show of the year tomorrow night on my Facebook page, so Ingers League Wrap Up. It's 8 o'clock New Zealand time. I don't know what time that is over there for you guys. But it's our predictions show. So me and my co-host Richie go down. We've got things like leading try scorer for the year for the NRL, Dally M, all that type of thing. First coach to be fired, I think we put in there too. Just things like that is be a good chat. And if you're interested in that stuff, just follow me on Facebook at Ingers League Wrap Up, and hopefully I can keep you guys entertained.
Awesome, as I just want to say thank you again, Brad, for your time. Thank you for the awesome chat and dialogue. The best part about this, ladies and gentlemen, is this is not the last time we'll be seeing Brad. I'm sure he'll be popping up a few times over the course of this year. Hopefully, both of us smiling, hopefully with good news to talk about. It all depends, though. But I say that thank you again for your time. ladies and gentlemen, take it easy. See you guys next time. And Brad, I think he knows how to hold the ball. Take it easy. See you guys next time. Thank you again.